Roots hold us close and wings set us free. We are a community of ministry. We minister to one another, to the world around us. We tend to one another in a community of care. The Reverend Elizabeth Wynne once said and wrote, "As Unitarian Universalists, our journey is to transform the big and the small, to transform ourselves, and to transform the world." Universalism means that no one is outside the circle of love, and no one is disposable. No one is outside of the circle of love, and no one is disposable. And she'd write that we stubbornly seek out the spark of the divine in each other, no matter what. Interdependence means that none of us are truly free until we're all free, and our thriving is bound up in the earth's thriving. We struggle for liberation from the violence of white supremacy, sexism, ableism, classism, and homophobia. Our covenants mean that we make our promises to our communities to honor love and justice above all else. We make promises to honor love and justice above all else. And so I'd like you to think for a moment about something that you may have done this past week to bring more love or more justice into the world. It could be any action, large or small. It could be something that you did individually. It could be something that you did with friends or family or as part of a group. And if you can't think of anything that you did this past week, think about something that you may be doing or planning to do in the week ahead. And when you have something, again, large or small, turn to somebody near you and just talk a little bit about either what you did or what you plan to do. So this is a participation part. Turn to somebody near you. If you're mid-sentence or mid-thought, start to wrap up whatever it is that you're saying at the moment. We'll take just a few more seconds. All right. That was wonderful to just, even though I couldn't hear necessarily what you were saying, the energy and the animation in your faces and your voices and the things that are happening in our community in this room and outside of this room. We obviously can't have everybody share everything that they said, but anybody that would, a couple of people that would just be able to shout something out and share something that for the group of something that you either did this last week or you heard somebody do. Go ahead, Ted.
Last Sunday, a lot of us in this community and many other communities were waiting in cars and meeting neighbors and attending.
Nice. So for the folks online, if you weren't able to hear, Ted and a number of other people in this community were part of a gathering in McHenry. It was a protest, I take? Yeah. An ice out protest in McHenry, and it sounds like there was the pictures I saw, it looked like there was a good sized group. Yeah, Sue had something. Amy, gosh, Amy, I'm so sorry.
Yesterday, I met with some other people from the congregation, and we packed bags of food to deliver to immigrant families. We're going to feed up about 75 people.
Great. Nice. So Amy was saying that a couple people from the congregation here, and I'm going to add in a few words that you didn't say, but also from some of our neighboring congregations, got together. We're packing together food to deliver to immigrant families. Right now, they're delivering food to 75 people. And there was somebody else that had their hand up. Or not. No. So returning again, I think those are a great illustration, returning again to some words by Reverend Elizabeth Wynn, that she said that Unitarian Universalism is for those who've seen the arc bend towards justice and those who doubt that it will ever bend, but know we must organize as if our lives depend on it anyway. It's for those who have seen the arc bend towards justice and those who doubt that it ever will bend, but know that we have to organize our lives as if we were going to bend it anyways. This year, this past year, we've seen increased aggressiveness and the tactics used by ICE and other federal agents involved in immigration enforcement, resulting in violence towards immigrants, both documented and undocumented, as well as violence towards citizens involved in observation, in protest, or just bystanders in their own neighborhood. Over the past year, we've seen ICE tactics shift from targeted individual detentions to at-large immigration sweeps with warrantless arrests and collateral arrests and with militarized and combat-style operations. And we've seen our communities organize in response, finding ways to support one another, to offer safety, to document and report on what's happening, to respond with creativity and imagination, to respond with love and compassion, to gather together and raise our voices. This last month, on December 4th, the Department of Homeland Security announced Operation Metro Surge, what they called the largest immigration enforcement ever carried out. It started with sending 2,000 federal agents, a blend of both ICE and Customs and Border Protection agents, to Minneapolis-St. Paul, and then expanding to an additional 1,000 for 3,000 federal agents in the city, a city that has approximately 600 local police. Residents and observers have described it much like being in a military occupation. And so even with the recent downturn or a downturn of removing 700 ICE agents, that still leaves over 2,000 that are there. And there was an amazing and historic event that happened not too long ago, 2 Fridays ago, Friday, January 23rd, where over 1,000 labor unions got together and over 750 Minneapolis-based small businesses organized an economic blackout. And then over 50,000 people marched in the streets in sub-zero weather. And they were joined by 1,200 clergy of all the denominations from all over the country, including 200 Unitarian Universalist clergy. Some were from right around at the Chicagoland area. There was Reverend Lucas Haggart from North Shore Unitarian in Deerfield who was there. Reverend Beth Johnson from Hinsdale. Reverend Mandy Huizenga from DuPage. Reverend David Messner from Chicago. And then among those 200 was a friend to many of us in this congregation, Reverend Misha Sanders, who now lives in Atlanta, was there. And as they marched, they sang. They sang, "We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We will live for liberation, 'cause we know why we were made." I'm going to invite you to sing that with me. If I can sing off key, you can sing off key. We can do it. We'll do it one line at a time just to get a feel for the words, and then we'll do it together a couple of times. So it's, we are not afraid. Oh. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We will live for liberation. We will live for liberation, 'cause we know why we were made. Together. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We will live for liberation, 'cause we know why we were made. Again. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We will live for liberation, 'cause we know why we were made. Nice. Very nice. This powerful act of solidarity, of resistance, of resilience is still going on there in Minneapolis, is still going on around the country. And what happened in Minneapolis on that Friday, 2 Fridays ago, did not happen by accident. There were many organizations involved. I had mentioned the labor unions and the businesses. And one of the organizers from the faith community was Lena K. Gardner. Lena, besides being the director of BLUE, Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, is also one of the members, active members of an organization called MARCH. MARCH stands for Multi-Faith Anti-Racism Change and Healing. And MARCH was one of the organizations that put out the call for clergy to come to Minneapolis on that day and join the marches. Lena had said, I want people, well, let me back up just a little bit more. So in addition to marching together, one of the things that the clergy did that were gathered there was spent a day just learning from people that were there in Minneapolis, learning from the organizations that were part of the organizing, learning from each other, spending some time with the rapid response teams, and then marching the next day. And during that day that they had gathered together, Lena said, I want people to understand the truth of the hardships we're facing. I want people to understand the truth of the hardships we're facing. And I want them to know the truth of the resilience that we're building. That people are coming together in new ways to help support our immigrant community and each other. Making meals, paying people's rents because they can't get to work, giving children rides to school, giving people rides to doctor's offices. These are all the things we were not doing before ICE invaded our city. And I want people, she said, to hear and understand the beauty of this. And more importantly, she said, I would encourage people in their own communities to start doing things now. Forging new relationships with immigrant-led organizations and your neighbors. Start building those connections now, because when ICE or another government entity comes to your city, you will be more ready. You will be more connected. And more connected people are safer. More connected people are harder to repress. Our Unitarian Universalist faith has grown from seeds planted by our Unitarian and Universalist ancestors, and from them we've inherited a legacy of courage and compassion, finding new ways to live our values. Some of them you've heard me reference before in previous times in the pulpit, and when we've practiced our flower communion, I've mentioned the history and the connection of that ritual to the resistance movement in World War II. Our chalice comes out of that same movement of people who were involved in helping refugees and asylum seekers find safety from the Nazi occupation. More recently, in a similar call to action, in 1965, after Alabama state troopers had attacked unarmed protesters that were crossing the Edmund Pettus Build outside of Selma, a day that was known as a Bloody Sunday. The following day, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King put out a call to clergy across the nation to come to Selma, to witness and to bring national attention to the injustice there. And that was a call that was answered. Similar to what happened in Minneapolis, there were clergy from multiple denominations, including Unitarian Universalists. In our history, we know that one of the ministers that arrived, Reverend James Reeb, was somebody who was beaten and died from his injuries there in Selma. There was a lay leader, Viola Luiso, from Detroit, Michigan, who was a Unitarian Universalist and a civil rights activist, and who was murdered by Ku Klux Klan members as she was providing transportation to other activists that were participating in the march. And there were many others, many other people, many other denominations. We have inherited a very powerful legacy of courage and compassion, and a very powerful legacy of resistance and resilience, a theology of showing up and a theology of solidarity. Last Thursday, Sophia Betancourt, whose picture I shared during that brief history lesson, was arrested by Capitol Police in an interfaith action, praying with our feet, that where several hundred people of faith had gathered to protest the Department of Homeland Security budget. You may have seen that in the news. Actually, that photo that's on the slide is from that action. And in her statement, she had said, "I am a proud daughter of immigrants and have experienced up close what it means to believe in the United States that takes pride in being a nation of immigrants and insists on the sacredness of all people." And she said, "The breach of that foundational story and the targeting of our immigrant neighbors sounds as a clarion call to condemn the ongoing violence and violation of basic human rights." And she said, "As an Afro-Latin woman born in this country, I am also aware that the violence we are seeing directed today at Black and brown communities and queer and immigrant communities, already made vulnerable by systematic oppression, is yet another foundational story of this nation. From slave patrols in the past to ICE and DHS targeting our neighbors, all people of faith and conscience must resist the structures of empire, of fascism, and tyranny that called us here today. And she ended with saying, "We are faithfully following the leadership of those who are giving everything they have to protect their neighbors, and we will do everything in our power to end the discrimination and restore the soul of this nation. To our beloveds, so many who are in harm's way, we will not forsake you. We are here with you in the name of all that we hold holy until the very end. May you be held safe and whole until that day." Dr. Betancourt had been in Minneapolis during that incredible march just the week before. And the day before, during that gathering, she led a prayer with the Unitarian Universalists that were gathered there and with others that would participate. And in her prayer, she said, "Let us be reminded of the greater calling, the greater possibility, the greater promise of our living tradition. We are moving and joining movements through the strength of all those who worked and fought and sacrificed and struggled for the freedom, the wholeness, the well-being for all, for the love that abides, which resides in us as long as we are on this planet." So let us sit with these words and with that prayer as we take the time to center ourselves, breathe deeply, breathe slowly and deeply. If it helps to close your eyes, close your eyes. Be aware of your body and position your body in a way that helps you feel centered. And as we breathe slowly and deeply, and as we center our bodies and ourselves, we recall that prayer offered by Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt. Let us be reminded of the greater calling, the greater possibility, the greater promise of our living tradition. We are moving and joining movements through the strength of all those who worked and fought and sacrificed and struggled for the freedom, the wholeness, the well-being of all, for the love that abides, which resides in us as long as we are on this planet. Breathe deeply. Breathe deeply and remember that we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, those who came before, those who are here now, and those who have yet to come. And as you breathe, remember and imagine those who came before, those who are here now, and those yet to come. Who is in your cloud of witnesses? Those who inspire you, those who you carry with you, those who you call to be your best self, those who call you to live with more love and courage each day. See them in your mind's eye. Remember them, hold them in your heart. We are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, those who came before, those who are here now, and those who have yet to come. And when you are ready, open your eyes. therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us. May it be so. May we make it so. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.